Hi, good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone. I will just touch base on the fifth one and then we'll quickly go to the process flow diagram. Okay. So let's just finish that off and the process flow diagram. So on my screen, you can see now the fifth task. Yes, if any one of you could not see my whiteboard, no worries. We will send you a snapshot of the whiteboard in the Telegram group. We put that across so you can take notes from there. Don't worry about that. So the fifth task talks about identifying business analysis performance improvement. Okay. And what do you mean by performance improvement, guys? Think about it. It mentions the purpose of this task is to assess the business analysis work and plan to improve processes wherever required. What do you think? What is one word that comes into your mind when we talk about performance, when we talk about making improvements to performance? Even if you're working in a different role, you might be knowing about performance improvements. What is that word that comes in your mind? Think. How is your performance being monitored in the project, guys? Is there any process in your organization? Every organization has a process. Yes, correct. Every organization has a process by which they will assess their employees' performance. Because without that particular assessment, they will not be able to give you promotions, hikes, not be able to move up the career ladder. Right. So similarly, here what we are talking about is business analysis performance. Now again, let me mention to you, this is again a lead BA activity, a senior BA activity. Entry level BAs will not do this performance improvements. So when I was working in as a lead BA in a large project, I had a team of business analysts reporting to me. There was a bunch of business analysts who used to report to me, and I used to review their documents, give them feedback as to where they need to improve and things like that. So for each of those business analysts, I had defined KPIs. What is KPIs? Key performance indicators. This is another technique that is there in the techniques chapter. Okay, key performance indicators. Key performance indicators are identified for all employees in the organization, and it is defined by their reporting managers. Many of you who are already in jobs must be aware of this fact. Several organizations, it is also called as KRAs, key result areas. It's one and the same. What do KPIs tell us? KPIs indicate certain parameters based on which your performance will be assessed. And what are the parameters based on BA's performance assessment? I will just show you that. Bring up that slide. Yes. Here in this particular slide, we talk about performance improvements, and the assessment measures that are given are the measures that can translate into a BA's KPIs. Again, very important from the examination per se. That means as a lead BA in that particular project, I had around six junior BAs reporting to me. So the way I used to monitor their performance is based on these parameters. I used to see that what is the accuracy and completeness in the documents that they're producing? What is the level of accuracy? Are there too many back and forths? Is the customer unhappy with the quality of documents that are being produced? So accuracy and completeness is with respect to the requirements. Knowledge. Knowledge can be application knowledge, domain knowledge, knowledge of a particular industry sector. How good is their knowledge on that particular application domain? Yeah, effectiveness. Effectiveness can be any type of effectiveness, actually. So I used to measure their effectiveness in terms of handling stakeholders, managing stakeholders' expectations, and handling issues, conflicts in the project. Then organizational support. This is also related to stakeholder management. How good they are in getting support from different stakeholders, and what is the kind of rapport they have with key stakeholders and things like that. Then the significance, their importance in that particular project, how much of a strategic level of thinking that they bring. Now, all of these measures, guys, you'll not be, a manager will not be using all of these measures. You can pick and choose which one you want to use as a manager. Um, Also, you don't need to use all of this. Okay? You can create your own KPIs also. Okay? This is something, some guideline that's given by IMB. Timeliness talks about how effective a BA is in meeting deadlines. So when I give timelines to my one downs, how many times I had to revise those timelines because they were not able to meet it, or are they were really very good in meeting those timelines? Based on this, during the performance appraisal, I used to give them ratings. Based on these parameters, I used to give them ratings, either 2 rating or 3 rating or 4 rating, depending upon these different measures. So after you give rating to your one downs based on these measures, you can recommend actions for improvement. That which brings us to the other element of it. So what I used to do is, after I give ratings to my one downs, I used to have a discussion with them separately, each one of them separately, just like you have your appraisal discussions with your manager, right? So I used to give them feedback as to what are the areas in which I want them to work harder, improve certain setbacks that we had in the previous release, how that can be improved, and all of that. So that is identifying improvement areas. So this is exactly what this task is all about. At an entry level position, you will not be doing this. Okay, this is just for your knowledge. Keep this in your knowledge, and this knowledge will come very handy for you guys when your manager is defining KPIs for you. If he is defining some wrong KPIs for you, you can point it out to him and tell him that, as a BA, I will not be involved in these kind of activities. Like in one of my other workshops, one of the BAs told that my senior management keeps on pushing me into estimation. They say that as a BA, you should estimate. And because I'm a non-technical person, I'm not able to do estimate. I'm not even able to understand how much time my team will take to complete this particular module. So I said, yes, estimation cannot be done by a functional BA. It is very wrong to expect a BA to do estimation unless and until you are a technical BA. If you're a technical BA, of course, you have the knowledge to do that estimation. So many times this happens in projects, guys. Senior management tries to give you additional responsibility, something that you are not capable of doing. So we should be upfront and tell them that, as functional BA, these are the areas where you will play a key role on, and these are the areas where you will not be able to contribute. Okay. And when you look at BA-BOK also, guys, the BA-BOK, that's a book that's published by IIBA. IIBA also talks about pure functional business analysis, where they don't talk anywhere about any technicalities. BA should be knowing any particular programming language or things like that. So our business analyst profession is a highly misunderstood profession in the industry, because you'll see different stakeholders have different expectations from you. So wherever required, we need to correct them. Till the time we have clarity on what we are expected to do, we can always go ahead and correct our managers if they have a different set of expectations. Okay, now let's quickly start the process flow. Let me bring up the process flow diagram for you. First, I will explain the elements of a process flow diagram. Then we will together create a process flow diagram. Okay. Now be very attentive to this, guys. There's an activity coming totally based on the explanation that I'm going to give. What is process flow diagram? Give me a moment. Process flow diagram is a visual representation of process steps. Okay. So in the BRD that I just sent you across, also you must have seen there is a list of steps that are given, which is outlining their current process. All of that steps can be converted into a flow diagram. Okay. It's a visual way in which you can present a group of steps, a bunch of steps. What is the benefit of it? When you do something visually, it is easy for people to understand. Anybody, you can create a process flow diagram for the client's business process and explain it to him in a much better way. It also helps you keep everyone on the same page. And it helps you identify which processes, which steps in the process can be automated and which have to be kept manual. So you can identify that very easily. Now let's take a look at some of the steps in a very simple flow, and let's try to translate it into a process flow diagram. Okay, so the example is that of a customer contacting a support team. Just think about a customer calling up any support team with a complaint. The customer wants to log a complaint. The support team records the complaint and raises a ticket. So a ticket is nothing but information about that particular complaint. So in the support world, this is called as ticket. Now the support team allocates the ticket to the technical team. Technical team fixes the issue and closes the ticket. Simple set of steps that I've listed over here. This is something that's written in the textual format. Now I have to convert this into a visual diagram. When I do a process flow diagram, this is how it will look. First step, guys. Note this down. Your first step will be to identify the actors. Who are the actors involved? Actors are the actual users who are involved in the process. They are called as the actors, okay? People who are doing certain actions. So in our case, it is the support and the technical team, two major actors involved. So I have identified the actors. The second step is for me to draw the swim lanes. Process flow, there is a concept called a swim lane. What are these swim lanes? Swim lanes indicate, you just have to imagine a swimming competition. In a swimming competition, lanes are given to each swimmer. Are you aware of that? Everyone aware of swim lanes in a swimming competition? Type S in the chat box if you are with me. And tell me why swim lanes are given to every swimmer. Why every swimmer has a different swim lane? Why can't it be an open pool? Why do we need to have lanes? So swim lanes have been given so that every swimmer is clear about his or her boundaries. This is a lane which I have to take. This is a lane using which I have to reach my final goal. Okay? And so that we don't get into somebody else's territory, bang into the next lane swimmer. So swim lanes are used to define a person's territory or area in which he can perform. Okay, that is the purpose of a swim lane. So that's the same purpose that is there in a process flow diagram. When we draw these swim lanes, it indicates that all the activities the support team will do will be in the support team swim lane. All the activities the technical team will do will be in the technical team swim lane. Okay, so this is what. So we have defined two different territories for support and technical team. That's the first step, and we'll do it in using visual paradigm. Just take a look at this diagram. So our step 2 is over, guys. Then we move ahead and start creating the diagram. What I have done, I have started drawing the basic flow. Basic flow, I started with creating a start element, which is in the form of a circle. Now in a process flow diagram, the start element can be in the form of a circle, or in some cases, this is also in the form of a oval shaped box. Okay, I'll show you that also in visual paradigm. But each of these notations that you are seeing on the screen, we have to stick to those notations, guys. So that means every step, if you see this, it starts with the circle, which says that, okay, process is starting over here. The circle indicates that, which means and below the circle, I have indicated the customer calls. And the circle gets connected to the next step, logs complaint, which means I'm saying that the support team is actually understanding the complaint or logging the complaint. Okay, so that's the first step for the support team. The next step is the support team raises a ticket. And then for the next step, allocates the ticket to a particular technical team member. Once the allocation is done, guys, the flow moves to the technical team swim lane. Did you see that? So it moves to the technical team swim lane, where we indicate a box saying that attends to the complaint or fixes the issue. You can call it anything. Okay. And then we close the loop saying that closes the ticket. So the end point is again shown by a darker circle, a circle with a darker outline. Okay. So here I've tried to show you a very linear flow without any bifurcations. First, in order for you to understand, I've kept a very linear flow, step by step, logs the complaint, raises the ticket, allocates the ticket, someone attends to the ticket, and the ticket gets closed. Okay, so that's the end of the process. We will now see how this process can have different bifurcations, different ways in which the same end goal can be achieved. Okay. Everyone with me in understanding the basic flow? Give me a yes so that I can go ahead. Great. So remember, guys, these process steps, the steps should be always indicated in these rectangular boxes, square-shaped rectangular boxes. And when we draw it, you get an idea about this. Another important point that you have to note, keep a note of this, the steps that are included inside these boxes, don't make it a lengthy sentence. Just 2 words. Keep it to 2 words or max 3 words. Don't clutter the boxes. This is a thumb rule that we follow to draw a good process flow diagram. Then the next step, now we have the same flow, we have expanded a little bit. That means we have added some level of complexity. Now, what we are saying here in this flow is the customer calls the support team. The first step the support team does is they try to figure out from their side, whether it's a known issue or an unknown issue. There are certain known issues and unknown issues, right? Like, for example, the customer calls up and says that I'm not able to send and receive messages since morning. There's a problem with my, can you check my data plan or things like that? I'm not able to receive any messages. So first thing that the support team will do is check whether there is some issue in that particular area from where the customer is calling. Is there some work or maintenance work or something going on which is impacting these services? Huh? So if that is the case, yes, there are certain maintenance works in progress and all the users in that particular area is impacted, then it is a known issue, right? That means the support team knows about this issue. So what we do is, in this case, we put a diamond shape box, which is called the decision control. And using the diamond shape box, we can give 2 different directions to the flow. That means one direction will be, it is a known issue. What the support team will do in that case, they will inform the customer. They will inform the customer it's a known issue. It will get fixed within the next 4 hours, 3 hours, whatever, and close. That's the end of the process. But if it's an unknown issue, that means there has been no other complaints from that particular area, there is no other maintenance work going, then it's an unknown issue for the support team. In that case, they go ahead and start the process of raising a ticket and allocating the ticket. And somebody from the technical team fixes the issue and closes the ticket. So this is a flow. In this flow diagram, I'm trying to show how a decision control can be used to give 2 different bifurcations to a flow. Known issue, unknown issue. So you can to create 2 different bifurcations. You can use any kind of parameters. Like user selected, not selected, user happy, not happy. That's a decision control. So these are some of the controls that are used in process flow diagram. Let's now quickly go to visual paradigm to do a diagram and learn it, rather than just seeing it here in a PowerPoint slide. We have learned the components of the diagram. Now let's just do it. So each one of you go to the link of visual paradigm which you had bookmarked, or if you have not bookmarked, go to Business Analysis Hub and invoke the same link. Let me quickly bring up another chart for your ease of understanding. Just give me Everyone has loaded the visual paradigm. Great. So when you go to Business Analysis Hub and you click on the career growth funnel, guys, I'm just sharing my screen. So you're on the same page that I am in. There is in the career growth funnel, in the bootcamp project section, we have a topic called as process flow exercise. Okay. Here, I have given you, sorry, so when you open this process flow exercise, what will you see? You will see the steps that are defined for a resource fulfillment process. We are going to work together to complete this resource fulfillment process. And if you're not able to complete it in today's class, definitely complete it in the next week and upload it in the LMS. So this is again an important document that you have to upload in the exam simulator. Okay, so do it along with me. It will be easy for you if you complete the activity along with me. Let me first explain what are these steps. When I say resource fulfillment process, we are talking about a scenario wherein a person, a resource from the project has left the organization and the project manager is trying to backfill that position. That means he's trying to hire someone new for that position. So this is the normal process that is followed in several organizations. A project manager raises a resource request. So they have their own resource management tool in the organization. There they have to raise a or add a resource request. As soon as he adds a resource request that he needs a resource in his project, the RMG team, that is a resource management group, okay, RMG team, they will review the requirement. That means the PM must have indicated what is the skill that he needs, what is the role. He's looking for a software developer who is working, who has good knowledge of Angular technologies, and with so many years of experience and so and so. He must have added all that details in the resource request. So RMG team will review the resource request. They will first check their pool. So mostly organization have a resource pool bench where employees are waiting to be allocated to projects. So they will check their resource pool to find a suitable match. Shortlisted candidates are sent to the PM. That means if they are able to find a suitable match, they send the shortlisted candidates to the PM. PM selects a profile and RMG schedules the interview. If resource is selected, PM onboards the resource and closes the resource request. If resource is not selected or skill set is not found, then RMG contacts the recruitment team for hiring. Okay, so here there is a separate recruitment team within the HR department, which is responsible for external hiring. So if they do not find a resource within the organization pool, then only they pass on the request to the recruitment team for external hiring. This is the process. And now we will see how we can put this process convert this process into a process flow diagram. So keep this open in one tab in your browser, the process steps, and in the other tab, you open Visual Paradigm. Let me just go to the Visual Paradigm module. Here I am in the Visual Paradigm. Here in the search bar, I enter functional. Okay, as you just enter fun, it will come up. This particular chart will come up. In Visual Paradigm, this is called as cross-functional chart. Okay, if you type process flow diagram, you will see that it will bring up some engineering diagrams. See, tools like Visual Paradigm, Visio are extensively used in different industry sectors also. Engineering students use it, architects use it. So there is a whole lot of diagram that are pertaining to their domain also, which is something that we don't do. Cross-functional flow chart is something. You see this? Everyone with me? Cross-functional flow chart is something that you have to click on. Click on create button. So you have now reached an empty canvas. You can now see an empty canvas for drawing a process flow diagram. All good so far? You are able to open the process flow diagram. Type yes, give me a confirmation if you are able to open the process flow diagram. Great. It is called as cross-functional chart. Okay, so that means you are with me. So I'll do it very slowly so that you can follow it step by step. No hurries. So first step, what is the first step in the process flow diagram that I indicated when I was explaining the process flow diagram? Let's see who remembers. What's the first step, guys? Yes, identify actors. So let's quickly look into that. Quickly look into those steps. Once again, let's take a peep there to check who are the right actors in our case. That who? Take a look at these steps and tell me who are the actors. Whom do you identify as actors, guys? How many actors are there? Okay, great, great. We have identified correctly. That means we have PM, we have RMG group. Okay, PM and RMG group. Let's move on to our visual paradigm. Start now. Let's start drawing it. Actors, guys, remember actors are the people who are participating in the process. They are doing some, they're involved in these steps. They're doing some activities. They are always actors. Based on what we agreed, we can draw two swim lanes, right? Now here if you see on the left-hand side, there is 3 swim lanes. You know, you can do these swim lanes in a horizontal fashion. You can do it in a vertical fashion also. Okay? Whatever suits you. So we have 3 swim lanes stacked. What you can do is you can drag these 3 horizontal swim lanes and then knock off one. Or you can use a single one also. Join two single swim lanes and create 2 swim lanes. Whatever suits you. You can do both the approaches are correct. Okay. So what I've done is I have put in 2 swim lanes over here. Now the next step is let me indicate actors, names of the actors which we identified. First actor is obviously PM. What I did just now is just I double clicked on the name and it highlighted the name and I was able to edit it. Similarly, lane 2, just double click on it. It will highlight the name and you can mention RMG over here. Do it with me, guys. It will be much simpler. Similarly, you can double click on the name of the pool and you can indicate the name of the process flow diagram that you are creating. In my case, I'll say resource fulfillment process. Okay. Now, the other thing is when I was explaining you the process flow diagram, I told you in certain, there are 2 different notations the process flow diagrams follow. One is a typical UML notation and the other one is the BPM notation, BPMN notation. So based on that, the first, the start element, which I showed you in the form of a circle, that differs. So here, visual paradigm is using the typical UML notation, which shows the start event as a oval shape box. So I told you the start event can be an oval shape box or it can be a circle. Both are correct, nothing wrong. Each of these left-hand side elements that you're seeing on the screen, when you do a mouse over, it will tell you exactly what it is. So you don't need to memorize. Okay, I need to have a square shape box for a process, a diamond for a decision. You don't need to do that. Just do a mouse over and it will give you the name of that element. Like I do a mouse over for this, it says start. So I just drag this over here. I can reduce the size or increase the size, whatever I want to do. When I double click on it, it gives me an option to add text inside it. Okay. So our first step, what is our first step, guys? So PM raises a RR, right? Resource request. He raises an RR, and the RMG, this goes to the RMG team. So what I need to do is just click on that element, the old shape box. It will give you all these blue arrows. You can see these blue arrows, guys, highlighted. So just do a mouse over on one of the blue arrows, and it will highlight that blue arrow, just like it is doing in my case. Then you just need to drag. It will automatically give you an arrow. And you can take this arrow whichever direction you want to. In our case, it will go to the RMG lane, right? Because RMG is going to review the requirement. So when you leave this arrow, it will ask you whether you want it to connect it to a process box or a decision control. You can select from this. So in my case, I'll say that process box. Indicate. Reviews RR. That means, so when you are putting this process steps, guys, there's no need to mention who is doing it. So I don't need to write RMG reviews resource requirement because it is in the RMG swim lane. It is quite obvious. Okay. So put the process steps over here. The next thing, again, I do a drag of this arrow and I leave it. It gives me an option to pick. So I pick the next process step and I indicate checks pool. Checks resource pool. I can indicate. You're with me so far, guys? Type yes in the chat box if you're with me. I'm waiting so that if you have any stuck somewhere, you can catch up with me. Yes, it's pretty, very, very straightforward. I want you to draw it along with me so that you don't struggle when you're doing it at home. So we completed 2 process steps: reviews RR, checks resource pool. After checking what RMG will find, either they will find a resource who matches the requirement or they might not find anybody, which means this will now connect to a decision control. Resource found, not found. Two criteria is there. Let me see where is here is the second element is the decision control. I got the diamond checkbox here. I can expand this swim lane. Okay, if there is no space, you can keep expanding this. Don't worry on that. You can also make these boxes small. I'm doing it fast, so I'm not doing this. Okay. So in the decision control, I can indicate resource found. A question mark. Now this I can take. Let's move like this that we do because we don't have space in that direction. So let me take a down arrow and indicate a next process step saying if resource is found, then schedule interview. And here I'll move this and indicate here if resource is not found, then we have to contact RMG, right? We have to contact RMG. Sorry, contact recruitment. Contact recruitment. The process ends over here. So we have to, for end of process, you have to select this terminator. It is called as flow line terminator. So in order to give additional clarity when the resource is found or not found, what I can do is, there is a text tool over here. On the left-hand side, there is a tool called as text. Just drag that tool over here and you can put as any additional text that you want. Like in this case, I would like to add that resource found. Here I will indicate no. Resource not found, then contact recruitment. In this case, I will say here, resource is found, yes. So if yes is the outcome, then the next process for RFG is to schedule the interview. And then the process has to continue here, right? Because it doesn't end here. We schedule the interview with the PM. The next step is for the PM to conduct that interview, because he's the guy who's going to select the candidate, because his project requires it. RMG is not the right people, are not the right people to select the candidate. So this, in that case, from here, our flow will move to the PM lane again. See that? So you can move the flow from this side also. You can, if you want, you can move the flow from the other side also. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay, that's totally up to you. Let's see. In my case, I don't have enough space over there, so that's why I will take this approach. Otherwise, you can do it from the right side also. Take the flow here and you select one process box. You have to, of course, arrange it properly. Give me a second. Let me arrange this properly. Now I have more space. Decrease the zoom level. This is something of which each one of you also can do. There is a zoom level that's indicated. I have changed it to 75%, so we get more space to play with. Which means I can take it here like this. Yeah, now this looks neat. This is how you can neatly arrange boxes in your process. Here we say the PM conducts interview. He conducts the interview. Now the outcome of that interview, guys, can also be two. Again, we have a decision control coming here, which means I will now join it to a decision control here. Some space. On dragging this, so that you get more space. And here you can show outcomes. Here in the decision control, you can indicate candidate selected. A question mark. That means, did this happen or not? That's the reason I'm indicating that question mark. Candidate selected. Let's say resource onboarded. The ticket is closed. So instead of end over here, say closes are. That's what's indicated in the process steps, right? So resources onboarded, again, closes RR. This can come and connect to this. So we can reuse the same endpoint, guys. Okay. So this, again, I can use this same elements over here. the text, if I want to add this additional text, it's not mandatory. So if the candidate is selected, yes is the outcome, then the resource is onboarded. If the candidate is not selected, that means the PM did not like the candidate, then the flow goes to the recruitment table. Is that the case? Has to be connected. Bring both of this so that it doesn't get cluttered. Okay, it a little down because we have to reuse these boxes. This kind of arrangements you'll have to do as you draw the process flow diagram now, so that all of these boxes do not get cluttered in one particular area. You'll have to do these arrangements so that it's simple for anybody who is reading your process flow diagram, right? So let me bring it here simply because I don't want too much of clutter over there. So that I can draw one arrow from this side also. On this node, I draw one arrow and I say that, okay, the resource is not selected, then contact recruitment. So you might feel some of these arrows a little sticky when you're doing it the first time, okay? Don't worry about that. It will come through practice. As you practice more on this tool, you will see that these arrows come very naturally to you. Okay, now I've rearranged that particular arrow. And also when you're doing process flow diagram or any kind of diagram, guys, it's always nice to have a mouse attached to your laptop rather than using the inbuilt mouse pad. That creates a hindrance when you're drawing these diagrams. So our process flow diagram, guys, is over. Let me show it to you in full screen mode. Okay. How it looks in full screen mode. Everyone with me, even if you're not able to complete the diagram, you can follow this step by step in the recording and do it. Might be stuck when you're doing it first time, guys. You might be stuck in some elements of the diagram. Okay, but this is a very simple diagram that we have done today, and through practice, you will definitely be able to complete this diagram. So I'll wait for 5 minutes so that you can reach towards the completion. Even if you're not completed, no worries. Just watch the recording and you will be able to complete. And do it very slowly. The first time that you're doing it, do it very slowly. As you create more and more diagrams using Visual Paradigm, dragging these elements from one side to the other will not be an issue. Okay. Disable all of this. See on the left, right hand side, what I'm showing you, you can have different styles and colors also. We have done a very simple diagram. You can add all color elements to the boxes if you want to make a fancy diagram and show your customer all these different ways in which you can style your process flow diagram. That is also there. You can explore that. Text, what should be the font for the text that is displayed inside the boxes? How you want to arrange each of this, rotating it by an angle, and all of that is there. Here, see, these are additional tools that come that you get along with the process flow diagram. If you want to move your process flow diagram from one place to the other, you use this hand tool. Okay, pan. It is called pan. You just click on this, and you will be able to move the diagram across the canvas. You can save your diagrams as a JPG or a PNG format, PDF format, whatever you want to do. Then save it as an image and export it. And this image, you can upload it in our in our exam simulator. So in my case, it has downloaded. So what you need to do once you finish the diagram is click on export. Click on export, guys, and save as JPEG. Do that. How many of you have completed the diagram? Well, several people have completed. That's good. That's good. You guys are very fast. That means. So most of the activities that you're supposed to do in the masterclass, you will complete in the class itself. There will be very few things like, writing a function requirements. I make you do a class activity as well as there will be a small home assignment also so that you get additional practice. So we learned process flow diagram also. You open VBA. Those of you who have not completed, it's okay. You can complete it at home by watching the replay, the recording. You'll be able to complete it. No worries. Now concentrate over here. Leave the process flow diagram if you're not completed. So under techniques chapter, guys, what we right now did when we completed this activity, what we did was process analysis. We used two techniques here, guys, process analysis and process modeling. So 10.34 on page number 314 of VBA talks about process analysis. And what is process analysis? Process analysis helps you identify steps in a process that can be opportunities for change. So when I showed you the steps that a PM follows in order to onboard a resource into the project, what each one of you was doing along with me, you were reading the steps and doing a process analysis to identify which processes in that entire steps can be documented in a linear fashion and where decisions actually happen. So in process analysis in the real world, let me tell you, when you're using process analysis in the consulting world, you will be responsible for identifying areas that are gaps. Like, for example, here we did a very simple process flow diagram. But in a consulting assignment, an organization might be facing an issue with respect to the processes that they are currently following. Their internal processes might be very cluttered. There will be, just like the BRD that I shared with you for the automobile customer, his current processes are completely manual, right? Now, in order to understand, this is also an exercise that you guys can do to get additional practice in process flow diagram. You can see the BRD gives you the entire details of the current process. Now, the current process, when you draw a process flow diagram, you are able to identify which areas are completely manual and needs automation. So that is what process analysis talks about. When you do in-depth analysis of a particular process, you are able to identify areas for improvement, areas which are gaps can be eliminated, and those areas can be automated or improved further. Along with process analysis, this process modeling technique, which we just now saw in terms of process flow diagram, is very effective because process modeling talks about converting that entire textual information in a graphical format. This is there in 318, page number 318 of VBA, process modeling. So the list of techniques that we have so far discussed. Today we discussed a whole bunch of techniques. Okay, let me put that in the whiteboard. Yes, my whiteboard is shared. Put it up in a sticky note. Okay, list of techniques that we learned. We first learned org modeling. Then we saw stakeholder list technique. Under stakeholder analysis itself, we saw RASI, and we saw stakeholder registers. We also saw process analysis and process modeling. We also saw the technique KPI. Something that was covered yesterday, I'm listing that also down. We saw brainstorming in our first session. We saw mind mapping in the first session. These are a bunch of techniques we have discussed. My process flow diagram will be emailed to everyone the next day, tomorrow. We'll email the process flow diagram. You can also watch the recording and see how I've created it. So I'll do that. So now, I believe we are very clear about how process flow diagrams have to be done. I want to give you 5 minutes. 5 minutes, I want you to go through Webor and learn the inputs and outputs of the 5 tasks involved in BAPM. We'll have a short quiz. Let's see how much of this you can remember. I don't want you to memorize all of that, techniques, elements, and all, because it's not possible to do in such a short time frame. So, but inputs and outputs of all the tasks. Let me put it up in the whiteboard also, so that's clear for everyone. Memorize input and output for all 5 tasks. APM. I'll give you 5 minutes. Open VBA and memorize this. I'm going to ask you to list all the names of all the tasks and also the input and output of each task. Guys, 5 minutes. Everyone ready with the input and output? Okay, let me ask you a few questions. Now, without looking into Memo, I want you to respond back to this. Try to attempt like that. Who can tell me what is an input to plan business analysis governance? Let me see whose answer comes first. Plan business analysis governance. Is that correct, guys? Mhm. I'm asking input to plan business analysis governance. Yes, that's correct. Input to plan business analysis governance is BA approach and stakeholder engagement approach. What is an output to plan stakeholder engagement? What is an output to plan stakeholder engagement? Output to plan stakeholder engagement is the stakeholder engagement approach document. What is an input to plan business analysis approach? The first task. Yes, correct. It's the needs. Now a slightly difficult one. What can be an input to identify business analysis performance improvement task? What is an input to that? PA approach is definitely there. Yes. PA approach and performance objectives. So that's why I said this one is slightly different from the other tasks. Yeah. Everyone ready with the input and output? Okay, let me ask you a few questions. Now, without looking into Mimok, I want you to respond back to this. Try to attempt like that. Who can tell me what is an input to plan business analysis governance? Let me see whose answer comes first. Plan business analysis governance. Is that correct, guys? Hmm. I'm asking input to plan business analysis governance. Yes, that's correct. Input to plan business analysis governance is BA approach and stakeholder engagement approach. What is an output to plan stakeholder engagement? What is an output to plan stakeholder engagement? Output to plan stakeholder engagement is the stakeholder engagement approach document. What is an input to plan business analysis approach? The first task. Yes, correct. It's the needs. Now a slightly difficult one. What can be an input to identify business analysis performance improvement task? What is an input to that? PA approach is definitely there. Yes. PA approach and performance objectives. So that's why I said this one is slightly different from the other tasks. Yeah. What is an output to this particular task? Business analysis performance improvement. What is an output to this? Business analysis performance assessment. Okay. We have to memorize the entire name. We can't memorize only one section of it. Business analysis performance. Let me ask you something that I didn't ask you to study. Let's see how much you have retained out of today's session. You can list some of the major requirement attributes that you should capture in a project. Requirement attributes. The question. Let's see who gives me a complete list. There are several attributes, I know that. I like so much. Aaron, guys, how much ever you know, Aaron, it's okay. Wow, that's a very big list. That's nice. Amazing. That means you remember. All of you are taking down notes, because it's difficult to find in Webwork very quickly. But if you have taken down notes, I know it's very handy for you in front of you. That's good. I think so far so good. We are who are in sync with me, so that's very nice. Now the next chapter in BA Walk is the most important chapter, even from your job per se. Okay, like I told when I started business analysis planning, I told you don't worry about this too much because planning is something that the lead BA gets involved in. But the next chapter is not like that. Elicitation and collaboration has the second highest weightage for the exam, as also it has a lot of importance for when you start your career as a business analyst. What is elicitation? What is the other word for elicitation? Correct. It's requirements gathering. It's nothing but requirements gathering. So on a very simple, common layman term, we call it requirements gathering. IFBA calls this as elicitation. Now, in the elicitation module, they have several tasks that they have listed. You go to page number 54. Okay. If you go to page number 54, you see a bunch of tasks over there. And guys, believe it, if we follow requirement gathering the way Webok puts it, we will not face any issues with the requirements gathering. We have to simply implement the steps that they have been advised here, they have recommended here. Many business analysts, they deviate from these steps. That's the reason their requirements have so many gaps. So these are the steps. These are the different tasks that are listed here. Each of the task talks tells you what a BA needs to do in that particular task. Now, prepare for elicitation talks about how a BA needs to prepare for a requirements gathering meeting. So if any one of you is already a BA, there might be a set of process that you're following to prepare for requirements gathering meeting with your customer. Or it might also be the case as how I started my journey. I used to not follow any process for requirements gathering. And due to which, at the initial stage of my career, requirements had a lot of errors, requirement errors, and which gave rise to a lot of escalations and things like that. So if you follow a properly defined process, we will not land up in those kind of issues. As a BA, what we need to do to handle requirements in a better way, to gather requirements in a better way, is first understand the scope of elicitation. Scope of elicitation in the sense, scope of the requirements gathering meeting. So it, in a very common terminology, you should be very, very clear of the agenda of the meeting. Okay? The scope of the meeting is the agenda of the meeting. So I tell my students, create a watertight scope for the meeting, because customers have the tendency to deviate from the topic. If you're a BA, you must have experienced that you get into a meeting with a customer to discuss about some particular features, and the customer starts discussing about XYZ. What happens at the end of it? At the end of the 1 hour meeting, it was not at all a productive meeting. He was discussing something else with you. He came into the meeting considering the fact that he will discuss ABC feature with you, but he ended up discussing something else. Has anyone of you experienced that? Yes, this primarily happens because you do not tie down the agenda of the meeting. You do not outline the scope of the meeting prior to the meeting. So when you are new to a particular project, your first step is naturally to understand what the project is all about, what this application is, what is the domain of that particular application. Spend some time understanding all of that. Many new BAs, what the mistake that they make is managers, they tell them that, okay, next week there's a requirement gathering meeting. I want you to drive that particular meeting. Okay? And it might be just, it might be your first day in the project and you don't even, you have not even gone through any documents. When you go to a requirement gathering meeting in such an unprepared state, that meeting is, we can't expect that meeting to be productive, right? Because you'll see that in those kind of meetings where you as a BA, you are not prepared, you are mostly quiet in those meetings. You don't have anything to ask. The customer keeps on speaking, or maybe your project manager keeps on speaking, but you don't have anything to ask from your side. Naturally, right? You're very new to the project. You hardly know anything about it. So what I advise to my students is, when you are new to a project and your manager just ropes you in a particular meeting, just inform him that, that you have to understand this product before you get into a proper requirement gathering meeting with the customer. Many managers don't understand that. They say, okay, I have scheduled the meeting, you come with me and all of that. But understand your project manager or your technical lead, they are not the right people who should be gathering requirements in the project. Requirement gathering is purely your responsibility. And for you to efficiently carry out that responsibility, you should have adequate knowledge of that project before you get into a discussion with the customer. Otherwise, the customer will talk about ABC modules. This is how the screen should look, and you have no clue what these modules are all about. Okay. So once you have prepared yourself, your first step will be to prepare yourself with adequate knowledge before you get into a requirement gathering meeting. Once you have prepared it, prepare a agenda for the meeting. In this requirements gathering meeting, these are the features that we are going to discuss. Create an agenda. That will be the scope of your meeting. Take a note of this, guys. Scope of the meeting. After which, you have to identify what kind of elicitation technique that you will use. Let me put all of this in our whiteboard. The first element that I mentioned was understand scope of elicitation. If everyone can see this. For those of you who can't see the whiteboard, I'll send a copy of all these notes, okay? Understand the scope, then select a technique, appropriate technique. Now, there are several requirements gathering technique. One mistake that BAs make is they feel that interview technique is the only technique that's available in business analysis. If you look at the last chapter of techniques, it has 50 odd techniques. All of these are not requirement gathering techniques. It's a mixture of requirement gathering and analysis and some consulting techniques. It is definitely there. But requirement gathering itself, there are 10 widely used techniques for requirement gathering alone. How many of you know about it? Everybody, each and every BA I see on the project is doing requirements gathering using the interview technique because that's the only technique that they are aware of. So we as BAs, we are the right people to decide which is the right technique for our project. If interview is right for your project, use it. But interview does not work in every case. So we have to identify what is the right technique. And I'll give you a list of techniques that you can explore in your project and choose which one is apt for your project. So I'll come back to this technique. Let me just move on to the next step that a BA is supposed to do. And we'll come back to this point of techniques. What are the techniques that we're talking about? Okay. So in the whiteboard, I've listed select a technique as one of then check logistics, very important. This is something again BAs ignore and they feel, oh, this is not that important, but not correct. Logistics for a meeting is very, very important. What does logistics include, guys? Logistics talk about all the different, yes, that's correct. I got the answer to that. All the different resources you need for that particular meeting, including the meeting room. Okay. So if you are doing a physical meeting with the customer, you are meeting up with them for a face-to-face interview, you will need a meeting room, right? And in the meeting room, you might need some additional facilities. In the sense, if you're going to do a presentation, you might need a projector. If you are going to rope in a different team also in that particular meeting, you might need video conferencing facility over there in that meeting room. You might also need a whiteboard if you're planning to write something and explain certain things to him. So it's not only about booking the meeting room, but checking whether the meeting room has the adequate facilities that you need. Okay. So all this forms a part of logistics. When we used to travel on site to the customer locations to gather requirements, at that time we need to be aware of what are the processes in their office. Many times it has happened. I'll tell you an experience that I had. That I was in the customer's premises there in Germany. We were working out of the customer's office in Germany, and I had booked a meeting with the senior stakeholders of the organization, the sponsors, and very senior level guys to understand the business needs. So we were just starting off the project, so the need assessment was something that was in progress. So everything was in place. 1 week ahead of the meeting, we had sent out the meeting invites and detailed agenda and everything. What I missed was to check on the availability of the meeting rooms. Okay. So there were several the place that we sat, the cubicles that we sat in, there were several meeting rooms just aligned to those cubicles, just near to those. So I very frequently saw many of those meeting rooms are empty. So I thought, okay, we can just hop into any of those meeting rooms. But that was not the case. in their organization, I was in the customer's organization, right? In their organization, they had a separate process by which they you have to get into their meeting scheduling application, hmm, and book these meeting rooms in advance. So once you book the meeting room in advance, that meeting room is blocked for that time under your name. Okay. So I was not aware of this process. I thought we can just hop into any of those rooms. Many of those rooms are pretty empty. What happened is on the day of the meeting, when all the senior stakeholders arrived, we saw that all the meeting rooms were. We couldn't find a single meeting room that was empty and not occupied. Due to which that meeting obviously had to be rescheduled. What happens is the problem is not with rescheduling the meeting. The problem is with getting the availability of the senior stakeholders again. Most of the times, if you are having a meeting with senior stakeholders, you'll see their calendar for the entire week is blocked. It's difficult to get their availability. And when you do get their availability, you have to take every utmost care to ensure that the meeting does not get rescheduled. Because that again prolongs your timeline, right? Your manager is sitting on your head asking you when you're going to complete this. Okay, so that was one case where we had to reschedule the entire meeting just because logistics was not taken care. So I just wanted to bring this point that logistics, many of us take it for granted, think that, okay, this is a small thing, we can handle it. But if it's not taken care of, we will land into all these kind of situations. Okay. So that's with respect to logistics. And then supporting material that's mentioned in WebOp talks about BA being prepared about what is going to be discussed. So have enough supporting materials from your business stakeholders about the requirements. So I used to, before the requirement gathering meeting, I used to send out a meeting to my stakeholders. If I'm unclear of these requirements, if I don't have adequate knowledge, I used to tell them, can you just tell me in one line as to what exactly are your expectations from this particular feature? Of course, we are going to have a detailed discussion in the requirement gathering meeting. But just to prep myself up so that I can prepare the right level of questions, right? So that's also one important element, which brings us to the next element. Prepare your stakeholders. So prepare yourselves, prepare your stakeholders. Two important part. Get the required documents from the stakeholders and prepare yourself so that you are ready with a question list. Never ever, if you're an entry level BA, never walk into a requirement gathering meeting without a question list. If the moment you become a senior BA, lead BA, the questions they automatically come in your head, because by that time you have gained that much of amount of experience. You might not require this question list. So in Business Analysis Hub, guys, I have put in a template called as requirement elicitation template. In the template, there is one column in which you can write down all your questions. There is other column where you can record responses from the customer. Okay. Use that template. The template has some sample questions which will serve as guidelines for you to create questions in an actual project. Okay. And we will do this as an exercise in our next class, where we will learn how requirement gathering questions can be created. How many of you want to know what kind of questions should be asked during requirements gathering? Yes, we need to know that. If we don't ask the right kind of questions, our requirements will end up in a lot of gaps. A lot of gaps will be there. So we'll use that same template that I just told you. In the next session, we'll use that template and we will learn how to create the right kind of questions to ask our customers. So in today's class, we learned step by step how to prepare for a requirement gathering meeting. One step in the preparation is also to prepare your question list. Once your question list is ready, you have to send it to the stakeholders also. Don't keep your question list with you. This is another improvisation that I made to my process, guys. During the initial stages, I used to prepare the question list, but I used to keep it with me. And during the meeting, I always thought that during the meeting, I can ask it to the stakeholders. But I saw that when I send the question list to the stakeholders a day prior to the meeting, they also come prepared for the meeting. Okay, so I found that my meetings are much more productive when I share the list with them. So many times the stakeholders that I invited for the meeting, they did not have answers to certain questions. So what they did is they got a subordinate along with them to the meeting who could answer those questions. So you see, which means it shortened my time to gather that information from that prospective subordinate because he was also present in that meeting. Otherwise, what would happen if I don't share the list with the stakeholder? As soon as I ask that particular question and he doesn't have an answer to it, he'll say, okay, I currently don't have an answer to this, but let me get back to you. So that again delays the process. Okay. So definitely do this, guys. Once you prepare the question list, share it with the stakeholders. At least a day prior to the meeting, share it so that they can come prepared for the meeting as well. Just like how you need to prepare yourself, even your stakeholders need to prepare. Yeah, I see most of you are interested in knowing what are the right kind of questions. So for this business requirement document, guys, the BRD that I have put in Business Analysis Hub, most of you have already read through it. I want you to come in tomorrow, the next session, not tomorrow, sorry. The next session, I want you to come prepared, thinking about what kind of questions you will ask in order to understand requirements for the search engine. Okay? What are the questions that that come to your mind? You know, obviously, that we are developing a web portal for this automobile company, right? We are developing a web portal for them. And in that web portal, the buyers and sellers can come and buyers can purchase used cars. Sellers will put their vehicles there on advertisements so that buyers can see and contact them. That is the overall gist of the functionality, right? Now, just think about the search engine in this particular portal, and the customer wants a search engine. What kind of questions should be asked to the customer during requirements gathering meeting to which will help your technical team develop a proper search engine on the website? Think about it. Let me leave you with this particular thought.
Okay, so let's pause for now. In the next class, we'll take a deep dive into requirements. We will learn how elicitation is actually conducted in a project, what are the different techniques you can use, and how you can create the right questions using the 5W formula. Thank you very much. See you in the next class.